Hi, Code Compliance here to speak with you on a matter that we receive a lot of calls on in our office. We'll receive a telephone call from a local resident asking us to come out and clean the area of land that's behind their home because there's an unawareness of who owns this, who's responsible for this section of land. This area that we're standing in front of right now is called a utility easement, and believe it or not, this is actually private property and it belongs to the two abutting properties here in this area. So the typical rule of thumb is this is a 10-foot easement and the pole is set in the middle. The utility pole from Edison is set in the middle, and that's usually about the 5-foot mark for each property. So that's the typical rule of thumb, is who's responsible for what. One side is responsible for 5 feet, the other is responsible for 5 feet, and the pole is typically the measuring point. But to know exactly where that dividing line is that separates the two parcels, that would require a surveyed engineer to come in and tell these two homeowners, this is where your property line ends and begins. Why is this section kept open? To allow an easement for the utility that's housed here to be serviced at any time without bothering the landowner to service, whether it be the phone, the television, or in this case, the electricity, which is housed here at this time. Sometimes the sewer line even runs in here, and this is where the city will need to come in and do a service or a cleanup or a repair. And if people are building into this area or not maintaining the vegetation or the weeds or the trash, it makes it difficult for that utility to come in and service. So once in a while, we'll send a notice of violation to landowners saying, hey, you need to clean your utility easement, making it free and clear of weeds, trash, debris. And in this case down here, you'll see where there's a tree that's really overgrown. We ask that those be maintained as well so that any utility that needs to come in can service it. Sometimes folks like to put up a little bit of a chain link fence here to prevent people from trespassing through here. That's fine because that could be easily enough taken down by the utility. But the last thing you want to do is build a shed or a cinder block wall. Anything like that would be unpermitted, because again, it would have to come down in the case of a service of a utility, and that would be at that landowner's cost. So what we're asking is just take a look at your property. If you have a utility easement behind your own, go inside it, make sure the section that's behind your property is free and clear of any debris, weeds, or trash, and keep that open so that your utilities that you use daily are able to be accessed by that utility company and serviced for your use. Thank you. Have you ever wondered what we call this section of land right here? It's called a parkway. That's the term we will use when you see this area of open dirt, if you will, sometimes with grass, sometimes with plants, sometimes with pea gravel. This area here is landscaped area maintained by the landowner of that property. Now you would think that the city would maintain this because it is right-of-way. The sidewalk is here, the parkway is here, a driveway is here, then you have your curb and your gutter. But this section of land, if it's ever noticed in a violation towards you as the landowner, we are going to call it a parkway and we are going to ask you to maintain it because it would be your responsibility to do so. The other thing is if you ever wanted to change the scope of it, we would encourage you to come in and speak with our planning and engineering department. Not every neighborhood has a parkway, and some don't have a parkway that has landscaping in it. Some have parkways that have been cemented in. And again, if you choose to change the scope and how it's used, just always make sure planning and engineering are okay with that, because it could change how the drainage and erosion and how water flows if you went ahead and made it cemented an area that was already dirt. So just make sure if you have a parkway in your neighborhood or at your home that you maintain the ones that belong to you. So if you're a corner house, sometimes you'll have two. In this case here, this parkway, we would just ask that homeowner come out, just do a little bit of weed remediation, clean up any debris, and bring that area into compliance. So once again, if you ever see this section of land or you own one, it's called a parkway, and we ask that you as the landowner maintain it. Thank you so much.